While growing up in India, we often use two famous idioms in Hindi. The first one went like this, Bandar ke haath mein nariyal, which literally translated as a coconut in a monkey's hand. The saying implied that someone inept and utterly incompetent was holding something valuable or complex, but he or she lacked the knowledge or ability to use it judiciously. The other saying was Allah ganje ko nakhun na de, which when translated in English means that God mustn't give nails to a bald person. This meant that don't give someone a weapon they can use against themselves. Or don't give power to someone who will abuse it. Both these idioms hold true for Donald Trump. Americans have given power to a maniac who is about to set his own country on fire with his utter foolishness. So far, the world has had to bear the brunt of his incompetencies and warmongering. But his dangerous announcement in response to a social media post by a former Russian president could have a catastrophic impact on the whole of the US. That's because this lunatic's reckless action has created a possibility of a nuclear war between the US and Russia. It all started with Trump threatening to impose 100% secondary tariff on Russia if Vladimir Putin didn't stop the war with Ukraine within 50 days. I mean, this was a clown who came to power saying that he'll stop the war between Russia and Ukraine on the very first day. And what happens? It's all been almost 6 months now. In fact, more than 6 months. And the guy has turned out to be an utter failure. He's all talk, no substance. So, how does he hide his incompetency? By threatening Russia. Russia, the country with the largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. He's threatening Russia.
And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else.
However, as has been the case with this increasingly inconsistent occupant of the White House, he changed his threat during his trip to the UK when he brought down the deadline to 10 days.
Earlier you said that you were going to change the deadline from 50 days.
Yeah,
What is your new deadline?
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Now, reacting to Trump's repeated threats against Russia, former Russian president, mind you, he's a former Russian president with zero influence in the current government. His name is Dmitry Medvedev. He took to social media to write this, and I quote, Trump's playing the ultimate game with Russia, 50 days or 10. He should remember two things. Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down this sleepy Joe road. End quote. Trump responded on Truth Social, his own social media platform, by announcing the deployment of two nuclear submarines closer to Russia. He repeated the announcement and justified his action during his media interaction on Friday.
Submarines being deployed.
Say it?
They are being deployed here. Nuclear submarines.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
Is there anyone on the nuclear stuff? And what did Medvedev say to you that made you really mad?
Well, you just have to read what he said. He was talking about nuclear. When you talk about nuclear, we have to be prepared, and we're totally prepared.
I mean, it beggars belief. This idiot talks about nuclear warfare as if like he's playing some chess game. He doesn't even realize, or I hope he realizes, what it entails when two countries, go on a nuclear war. Anyway, Medvedev, many of you may remember, had rubbed Trump up the wrong way during the illegal military transgressions by Israel and the US against Iran. He had posted on social media saying that many countries were ready to provide Iran nuclear warheads. This was the first time that someone as powerful as a former Russian president had openly talked about providing ready made nuclear bombs to Iran. Now, Trump's reckless action has heightened the danger of a nuclear war between the US and Russia. Medvedev's warning that Russia was no Israel and Iran is important. Even Trump knows that Russia's nuclear arsenal is far bigger in size than that of the US. Also, Russia, being the largest country in the world, has a geographical advantage against the US. What if Russia indeed decides to teach the US a lesson and arms Iran with nuclear weapons? While Medvedev may not be in power, but Trump has almost waged a war against Russia in response to a social media post by someone who is not politically relevant in the country at the moment. That said, this is a great opportunity for Russia and Tehran to collaborate closely, particularly on helping the Islamic Republic achieve its nuclear ambition. Experts are unanimous that a nuclear Iran would go a long way in clipping the wings of the terrorist settler colony of Israel in West Asia. But more crucially, this would amount to a public humiliation of the US, as it would have to deal with reduced power in the region where its warmongering has killed millions of people in the last few decades. Russia has already begun to express its public concern over future US and Israeli plans to carry out more military strikes on nuclear facilities in Iran. It remains to be seen how Iran takes advantage of this extremely volatile situation. Let's not forget that this clown called Trump came to power projecting himself as someone who was anti war. But since becoming the president for the second time, he has only worked towards helping a genocide in Gaza, carry out illegal attacks on and murders of over 1,000 innocent civilians in Iran. He then deployed US jets to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities, something deemed illegal under international law. He's been bankrolling Israel's ethnic cleansing of Gaza, masterminding the slaughtering of children and babies, and carrying out assassinations of nuclear scientists, doctors, and journalists. Let's not also forget that Israeli terrorists bombed a media house full of journalists in Tehran. And this was supported by Trump, who couldn't hide his glee until Iran began to pound the settler colony with ferocious missile attacks. I shudder to think that this madman still has more than 3 years to complete his second term. At this rate, he will either set his own country on fire or push it into a quagmire that his successors will find it increasingly difficult and may even take years to recover from. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you do think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.